Rough day?
You have no idea.
I just might. That's the second bottle you've downed.
Jai Hidari. Falco sends his regards.
And what does that unholy scion of a Grox and a Brahan want from me this time? Oh, wait, I don't really care. My sole plans for tonight are drowning my grief in a sea of Amasak.
We'll give you grief, all right. Get out!
Don't think so, Ashmak. And tell Falco to come himself next time.
Hidari, I am tired of your mess. Out! Get some sleep. We'll talk about settling up later.
Okti Shireen, light of my eyes. Can't you see my soul is full of sadness? Have you no heart at all? Let go of your material concerns and let me grieve in peace.
Jai Hidari, the Cold Trader, Pirate of the Kazbalika, and one of the best romance companions in the game that is available to both genders. Jai can be someone who people find complicated to build, or they're not quite sure what to do with her. However, Jai is just amazing at everything, and it's all about knowing how to use her skills correctly, especially with some of the added bonuses we got in DLC 1. So I'm going to quite literally show you a way to build Jai different, because I'm going to build her as your tanky buffer and also medical commissar type build. And this is going to be Jai the Overseer. She's good with the Eagle, she's good with the Servo Swarm, she's good as Vanguard, she's good as Master Tactician, she's good as Grand Strategist, though I probably wouldn't go Grand Strategist because it feels a bit of a waste when you have Cassius do that. But let's have a look at what's going on here. So Jai comes pre-built. This means her levels 1 to 15 we cannot change. So if we have a look at the build that's been put together by Alcat, they give her Voice of Command, Commerce, Bring It Down, Finest Hour, Commanding Voice, which extends her range, Fellowship, Nimble, Lasting Impression, which is very good to have, some more Fellowship, Move, 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 and Swift Movements. Now, I don't know why she has Swift Movements. You're not really going to need to move as much on her, but it is what it is. She also comes with March. Whenever the officer uses an ability that grants movement points to target, the officer also grants half the extra movement, so she's very movable herself. She takes Finest Hour Upgrade 1, so that increases our allies' damage, takes Law Imperium, Ballistic Skill. She gets Leader's Assault, so having a burst weapon on her is very good for building up her Fellowship. And also just using shotgun defensively. There's ways that you can stack and abuse this with flashlight emitter, which is what we're going to be looking at later. We're going to use Take Aim. You get characteristic training ballistic skill. She takes heroism here, which helps her get some 0 AP abilities, some little bit of willpower in there in case you wanted to use anything that later. Now, the main reason everyone hates her is because she takes Finest Hour Upgrade 3 and not Finest Hour Upgrade 4. People generally believe she's unusable because of this, because she doesn't get that -1 to AP. However, she is not unusable, and we're going to talk about why. But first, we're going to show you how to build her as an Overseer. So coming in as an Overseer, the best use for her is the Servo Skull Swarm, and that is entirely because we get access to do AoE officer buffs and double Bring It Down, and the Servo Skull can actually help with both healing and tanking. So at first we get Medicaid signal. So at the start of the turn, each ally in a 4-cell radius around the Servo Skull gains 16 wounds and 65% chance to remove 1 injury. Does not affect unconscious allies. Doesn't seem like the best, but is quite useful with some other things. Rank 3, you get emergency stimulation. Once per combat, the Servo Skull Swarm can save an ally if that ally suffers lethal damage in a 4-cell radius around the Servo Skull. That ally regains Servo Skull's Swarm's Fellowship bonus divided by 3% of their maximum wounds and remains in combat then. The Servo Skull Swarm takes 100 minus Overseas Medicaid divided by 5% shock damage. It gets the overcharge ability. The Servo Swarm immediately heals to full wounds, even if it has 0. The Overseer's next 3 abilities cost -1 AP. Until the end of combat, the Overseer's allies also ignore the cover of enemies that are under surveillance. This is another ability of the Servo Skull. Additionally, allies in a 4-cell radius around the Servo Skull Swarm are immune to criticals. That's actually quite useful if you need to survive. We then, at rank 5, start increasing our AP and ballistic skill, and with rank 6, we get Safe Shelter. If the Overseer or the allies protected by partial cover in a 4-cell radius around Servo Skull, they are considered protected by full cover. We then get some more ballistic skill. We then get Priority Signal. At the start of their turn, each enemy in a 4-cell radius around Servo Skull must make a willpower resistance test. Each enemy that fails considers the Servo Skull Swarm a priority target until the end of their turn. Turn some of your arc militant abilities there. Whilst the signals infect, Servo Skull Swarm's armor and dodge are increased for each enemy in that area. Now with Jay, you're going to want Law Imperium. That's going to be covered in the items, but this is what makes her unkillable. It will increase her health and her armor. Rank 8, we get Master's Patronage. At the start of the Overseer's turn, Familiar gains temporary wounds equal to some of the Fellowship. We then take Fellowship. We take Characteristic Training Agility. End game, you are going to use the Commander's Chrono, but early game, you're going to want to not go dead last. Rank 10, we take Symbiosis. When the Overseer extrapolates an ability through the Servo Skull Swarm for the first time in a round, they regain 1 AP. We're then going to get Fellowship, more Law Imperium, Overcharge 3, so we can start building up stacks of Deflection. At rank 13, we get Unseen Support. Whilst the Overseer is 5 or more cells away from the Servo Skull Swarm, their Fellowship is increased by 16. For an officer, that's really good, because that means you can send your Servo Skull Swarm to your allies whilst Jay's up front tanking, and she can get some really strong buffs on her allies. We then take Ready to Serve, Agility Tech Use, and we get Provocation Signal. At the start of their turn, each enemy in a 4-cell radius around Servo Skull Swarm makes a willpower resistant test at -40 penalty. Each enemy that fails makes a free attack against the closest creature, ally, or enemy. If possible, after that, they act normally. So you can make some enemies attack each other with that. At rank 16, we get Rite of Calibration. So the first Overseer ability in combat costs -1, does not stack with the item. Stronger Together, so we get +5 to our allies' Fellowship, and we get some more agility tech use. We then take Energy Multiplier. When the Overseer uses Bring It Down, each ally in that area gets +5 to all characteristics, while the Servo Skull Swarm is, that is. We then pick up Grenadier, because there are lots of really good grenades, and having that means that we don't need an operative in the party. Lastly, we get Overcharge Upgrade 1. As we get into Tier 3, that's when we can really start to progress Jay's officer stuff. So we take Eager of Battle just to get a couple of extra AP, because Jay is going to be attacking, doing a little bit of stuff going on here. Some of these abilities you might want to change the order of, so if you do, that's fine. Same with the talents. Some of the abilities you might even want to swap out. I like to get Steel Resolve earlier to get that +3 resolve, because we're going to be taking Air of Authority. We get more Law Imperium, and we're going to take Brother in Arms, which will also increase our resolve +2, which again, this is going to be going towards Air of Authority. We get Bliss Skill, and It Will Not Die. This is one of the only builds where I will pick up It Will Not Die, unless I'm really trying to push strength from toughness and HP. But rank 4, we get Air of Authority. The officer increases an ally's resolve by the officer's resolve divided by 3. If they are under the voice of command, they start the next turn with 1 action point. Now, we get some more Law Imperium. We get Firebrand. So for next turn given by this character, abilities or talents grants MP, the target gains +4 additional MP, and it gets an extra 1 AP. So this will bring it down up to 3 AP, and if you have Medal of Alacrity, it'll be 4. We grab Dependable Ally. When a familiar's ability is using an ally on the Overseer for 1 round, that ally gains +5 to characteristics, considered to be key characteristics of the familiar. So this helps some of their mental stats. But then we get Perception, because we no longer need agility, because we're always going first, and this will help land some of our attacks. But we also get Inspiring Speech. So Air Authority immediately grants momentum to the target equal to the target's resolve. So this will help actually get our heroic acts. Next, we get Advanced Tracking. For 1 round, the Servo Skull Swarm gains +10 Fellowship and Intelligence. This effect is triggered by signal abilities that affect targets for +1 additional round. So you can do this, then do your Medicaid, then you can start extrapolating all your abilities, or you can use this, extrapolate your abilities, then use whichever signal it is that you want to go for. We're going to increase some Bliss Skill, get Side by Side, so we first dodge the attack of an enemy against either our pet or our Overseer. We're going to start getting Characteristic Training Perception. Again, if you don't want to go into Perception, you don't have to, but I find it does help to knock enemies off Jay, and we'll again explain why I'm going so much in Perception once we get into the gear. We get some more Techno use. Then we get Eager Subordinates. Whilst allies take actions on X turns given by the character, they deal 15% more damage. We then get AP increase, and we're also going to get Decisive Response. Whenever the officer uses Voice of Command or Bring It Down for the first time in combat, this ability costs 1 AP less. Get some more tech use. Seize the Initiative, because we're going to use Command Chrono. It's very good. So the officer and allies with Voice of Command effect deal additional 90% damage to enemies that have not yet acted in this combat. Very good, because we're going to be AoE buffing before enemies even act. We're then going to get Medicaid. Armored Hide will reduce critical hit damage coming to our familiar. More Perception. Medicaid, because obviously with our Medicaid abilities and our ways to save allies, we actually can take Degraded Defense, because we are going to be doing a lot of attacks. We're going to take Focus, so when we use an ability, we can boost Perception and Bliss Skill of allies, because I use mostly ranged characters since this update rather than all melee. Autonomous Medkit will increase the Familiar's health. Gets more Med-K. Pick up Steady, which gives a buff to take aim and increase damage. Better side for the Emperor, because I couldn't think of something else to take there. Yeah, if you want to put something else there, feel free. Try not to take No Heresy, however. We're going to take Strategic Adaptation. So this will, if the Familiar is already in danger, will reduce damage coming to it. But it will also give Jay 40% more damage on her next attack. And if that attack kills an enemy, it does not count towards the attack limit per turn. And the Overseer gains AP spent on it. More Perception. We will take Flag Bearer, so because we're going to be up front. So having allies within 2 cells, they'll do 12% more damage and suffer 6% less damage. So it's good to have her right at the front. We'll get Be Vigilant. Allies under the effect of officer abilities also get bonuses to weapon skill, and they will do more damage on attacks of opportunity. Now, you can swap out Strategic Adaptation, and you can also, if you really want, swap out... actually, no, that's mostly it, really. You can get in one of the other ones, like Break Their Ranks or something. But this is going to help all come together when we look at the items. Jay, you're going to be shocked. So when you look at Jay, the first thing you're going to notice is that she has almost 100% dodge and 140% armor whilst having 171 health. That's getting up there close to like Abelard levels of health. It's going to be much more than your other damage companions as well. The reason behind of this is obviously the Breacher's armor will give additional armor based on Lore Imperium. We'll also be getting Lore Imperium armor from St. Cognatius' scriptures. We could get even more armor if we really wanted to, if we take the Helm of Determination. So we could actually get another 18%, which would bring our armor up to 154%. However, I like the Commissar's Cap because it looks nicer, increases our fellowship, and it also gives fellowship bonus critical hit chance both to the wearer and all their allies. Now, you can only use this in Act 5, so before then I normally use something like the Charter's Pendant, but the Flashlight Emitter, whenever the wearer is the target of attack for opportunity, the attacker becomes blinded for 1 round. The wearer then performs their lowest cost AP against the targets, including ranged weapons. So with her shotgun, you can run in and out and shoot enemies, and you can build up quite a bunch of fellowship. Commander's Chrono we're going to take to go first, and like I said, Breacher's armor to get some more armor. I actually keep the deflection gloves on her from Act 2, so she can just parry enemies coming into her with her ballistic skill, which is why I was increasing ballistic skill. We take the Road Trader's Cloak, so it grants +5 fellowship for each enemy within a 2-cell radius. I also get Commissar Boots. Whenever the wearer chooses an ally as target of their ability, the wearer immediately gains 4 MP. The reason for this is I like to move Jay around the battlefield a lot and keep her up there. So in her main handgun, she's got the Marspan shotgun. You could also use the Shard shotgun if you want. In her secondary, I've got a modified Splinter rifle just because I wanted to have a bit of range. You could easily throw in any of the snipers in there, whatever have you. But what is going to be important to also have on Jay, as you can see I've got down here, Tears of Repentance if you're making them, and especially Iron-Eye grenades. Iron-Eye grenades just replace all operatives. I also like to use stuff like Dreadmonger grenades, and any of the knockback grenades, really. They're very good and they're very useful to have. There are lots of really good grenades that you can be looking into. You can even use the Arbiter's Handcuffs, which is one of the DLC drops, which is something quite fantastic for her to make an enemy staggered once per combat, and you don't consume those. But yeah, this is going to bring the items together. And you've noticed my 13 Resolve J here is very tanky, very strong. It's going to be up front, and she's going to be healing pretty much all of our allies. As for alternate builds, Jay can do it all. So here we've got the Servo Swarm. You'll see I've got a Commissar build of the Cyber Eagle. It's pretty much the same, but it's going to be using the Cyber Eagle to add a bit of support and damage. However, it's not going to be able to keep the party alive as well, but you're still going to be just as tanky. We've also got her Gunslinger, which is, this is the Master Tactician. So if you do want to do some damage with Jay, it doesn't really come online till tier 3 when you've got some more AP. But that is an option, and she can do high damage. I've shown this in previous videos. And if you really want to go Vanguard, the most important ability around this is Follow My Lead. So you can use that to make allies follow you across the map, because you'll be basically moving really quick. If you're up front, you give them Follow My Lead. You fly to the other end of the map with your targeted abilities, and you can just move your allies to her straight away afterwards. It'll also give out some more armor pens. So yeah, I find it quite useful. You can use Force Distraction, Bulwark, and other stuff like that to be really useful with her. Yeah, it works however you want her, but I've been enjoying the Servo Skull Swarm. But that brings it together. I hope you guys have finally enjoyed seeing a good J build, because I get comments all the time saying, how do you build J? How do you build J? Well, this is how you build J. That's how you itemize J. Let me know if you've got anything that you think could improve, because obviously I haven't looked through all the new items. The DLC has been out a week, but that's going to bring Jay together. That's going to be the first of our Act 2 companions. We're going to do Yiralit next, and then we're going to get around to Ulfar and Marazhai. So let me know how you're doing. Let me know how your run's going. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Revan out. Have a good day.